any of you kids you want to proceed with
Yeah,
your
gentlemen, why don't you sit there? Why don't you guys sit? Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Today we're here to commemorate Bernice, but also to celebrate the wholesome life that she lived, and a very wholesome life. North of 100 years, 102 years, and to be of sound mind and quality of life, to have had a family and everyone with you, and love all of you being part of her life. We'd like to wish condolences to the entire family. First we'll mention, of course, her beloved husband Peter, who's been long deceased. Daughters Linda and John, Michelle. Grandchildren John, Suzanne, Jen and Andrew, Mara and Paul. And in her crown, the jewels of her crown that she wore, her great-grandchildren, Jacoma, Nika, Declan, Ronan, Liam, Frankie, AJ. Wish all of you, friends and family that have come far and near to celebrate Bernice's wonderful life and to bring comfort and relief from this loss of the family.
Oh no, I'm just.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. No, that's my bad.
That's okay. I thought maybe I forgot something.
No,
No, it's okay.
I'll sit on my hand.
That's okay. It's not like an auction, you know. So I don't mean to be sacrilegious. We're going to start off with Psalm 23. We'll do it in Hebrew, and those of you that know the text in English, feel free to join along. Mizmor leDavid, Adonai roi lo yaksar, binodesh yabitzeini, al mei menuchot yanahaleini, nafshi yeshavev, yarcheni v'maglei tzedek, leman shemo, gam ki elech begeit salmavet, lo irarav, כי אתה עמדי, שבטך ומשענתך, המה ינחמוני. תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צורריי, דשנת בשמן ראשי, כוסי רוויה. אך טוב החסד, ירדפוני כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff comfort me. Thou prepare a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. There's a wonderful reading from the book of Proverbs, I think, which really sums up who Bernice was as a person. What a precious find is a woman of valor. Her worth is far beyond rubies. Her husband puts his confidence in her and lacks no good thing. She's good to him, never bad, all the days of her life. She opens her hands to the needy and extends her hands to the poor. She's clothed with strength and splendor. She looks to the future cheerfully. She opens her mouth with wisdom. Her tongue is guided by kindness. She oversees the activities of her household and never eats the bread of idleness. Her husband came forward and blessed her and said, "Many women have done superbly, but you have surpassed them all. Charm is deceitful, and beauty is vain, but a God-revering woman is much to be praised. Extol her for the fruit of her hand, wherever people gather, and her deeds speak her praise. Today we all gathered, as I mentioned earlier, not to just commemorate and mourn the loss, but to actually celebrate. Sometimes it's hard to say in a loss that life is a celebration, but it truly is under these circumstances. We are all well aware and have been touched in one way or another by when death comes far too early, under tragedy or sickness or any other kind of circumstance. But when someone lives well beyond the means, the averages, and is blessed to see multiple great-grandchildren, not just grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and be interactive in their lives, truly one has been blessed. Bernice was born and raised in Youngstown. She moved with her mom to Cleveland in the 1940s. She worked as a bookkeeper at Ohio Furniture, where she met the love of her life, Peter, and in 1950 they were married. They had two daughters, Michelle and Linda. After the birth of her children, she became a stay-at-home mom, and she really excelled at that. Linda always remembers her mom cleaning and cooking. There was always a wonderful aroma that would permeate throughout the house. She truly was a wonderful homemaker. Holidays were always family gatherings. She was very close with her three sisters. Elsie, who lived in Youngstown, Rosella in Indianapolis, Elsie, who lived in town, Rosella in Indianapolis, and Evelyn in Youngstown. The families made every effort to come together when possible. Linda fondly remembers going on family vacations to New Hampshire, Michigan, and Maine. The trips were always car trips involving hotels and much sightseeing. Bernice was always involved in Michelle and Linda's school, and eventually even becoming president of the PTA. After the girls were grown, Bernice learned to play mahjong, and she spent more time with family, and in particular her sisters. Peter and Bernice were involved in their synagogues and worked at Beth Am as ushers. John was very appreciative of how accepting Bernice was of him. Even though he was not of the same religion, Bernice embraced him like one of her children. I asked the family, and specifically John, if he could share some just a little humorous interactions, and I'll share one with you now. Bernice resided at Menorah Park and did art therapy. Linda and John remember that they were once playing a game with Bernice. The premise of the game was that Bernice would draw a picture, and they would have to guess what the picture was within a specific time frame. Unfortunately, her artwork was not very good. She appeared to draw what looked like two firecrackers. And Linda and John, for the life of them, could not figure out what it was. And Bernice frantically kept on tapping on the picture to try lead him in a different direction. It turned out that her intent was to draw the Bats of Belfry.
Oh yeah, not even close.
John remembers fondly Passover seders, the Passover meals, her homemade gefilte fish, and the brisket that she made, as well as her homemade horseradish. Bernice was very good at celebrating all of the holidays and making John feel comfortable and welcome. One time, John's mom had Bernice and Peter over for a meal, and she's made some squid and served it. Bernice, not knowing exactly how to eat it, went along with it and ate it as though she had done this many times before. And this truly speaks to who she was as a person never wanting to make people feel uncomfortable, and go with the flow, so to speak. When the two girls were small, Peter wanted Bernice to learn how to drive. And he took the initiative. You know, sometimes you say, what came first, the chicken or the egg? And she hadn't got her license yet. And he said, you know what, let's just put motion in place. And he bought her a car. And the car sat in the garage for over 1 year. Eventually, with two screaming kids in the back seat, Peter taught Bernice how to drive. And Linda said she was astounded that she could drive under the circumstances of her and her sister being such a distraction in the back seat. Bernice was very kind, patient, introverted, and always smiling until her last day. Last Saturday, she turned 102. And she knew everybody and had her faculties until the end. One of her nurses, who is here today, Nurse Sissy, surprised her at a recent birthday. Bernice had not seen her prior to COVID, and the minute she walked in the room and they made eye contact, Bernice knew exactly who she was. Bernice was loved by everyone at Menorah Park. Her smile was contagious and everybody's favorite, from the nurses to the maintenance people. Anybody that had any kind of interaction with her, she left an indelible impression upon them. Linda said she was at her happiest when surrounded by her family. She appreciated the simple things in life, and unfortunately, as we know, family is not always so simple. There's a lot of complexities, but she really looked forward for those times. I looked up the meaning of the name Bernice, and it's from a Greek word meaning bringer of victory. And very clearly, she was a winner. There's no other way to say it. She truly was a winner. In a few weeks, we will commemorate the destruction of the holy temples of Jerusalem. The rabbis state one of the reasons given was due to the needless hatred amongst the Jewish people, not just amongst their enemies. We were our own worst enemies. In Bernice's life, she was just the opposite and loved people unconditionally. This is something we should all incorporate into our lives, our world to be a much better place. May her memory always be for a blessing, and we say Amen. At this point in time, we're going to lower the caskets. As the casket is lowered, I'd like to explain a couple of things as the maintenance comes forward to do so. All of us will have an opportunity to put some earth on top of the casket. And this is referred to as a true kindness. And by that I mean, when one person does a favor for another, you can always repay them in whatever time frame you have. In this circumstance, Bernice can never repay us for the kindness we're about to do for her. So anyone who wants to, there's no obligation, but it's truly a good deed to do. The first shovel that you take, you're going to invert the shovel to show that it's not the normal use of a shovel because we're using it involved in death. So the first shovel, you're going to invert the shovel and then put some dirt on top of the casket, and then take a regular shovelful and put it on the casket. I ask that you don't pass the shovel to one person to the next, because our sages tell us we don't pass death from one person to the next. So we'll put the shovel back in the mound, and then just as a public safety announcement, there is a stone here, so we're going to shovel from where the gentleman is on the far side of the casket. Just be very careful with your footing, it is a little bit slick. And once we put the covering on, we'll make some additional prayers, okay?
they're asking us to come around to that side. Anyone wishing to place some earth within the grave to help complete the burial, you're welcome to do so at this time.
Good, good.
Okay, whatever you're comfortable. At this point in the service, we're going to continue the memorial prayer. Please rise. אלמלא רחמים שוכן במרומים, המצא מנוחה נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה. במעלות קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים, אל נשמת בת אברהם שלחה לעולמה, בגן עדן תהא מנוחתה. אנא בעל הרחמים, אז תראה בצדק כנפיך ליעולמים, ושרור בצורך ונשמתם, אדוני הוא נחלתה, ותנוח בשלום על משכבה, ונאמר אמן. Exalted and compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the soul of Bernice, who has gone to her eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May her soul be bound up in abundant life, and she rest in peace. And let us say Amen.
Amen.
Before we do the final prayer, it is customary at the graveside, we believe that the soul will ascend to the Almighty, and we wanted to go with a pure slate, even though we know she was very pure. So we're going to ask forgiveness at the grave on anything that we may have done collectively to her or individually. and as well as something that she may have inadvertently done to anyone that's here or not here or has since gone on to the true world. Bernice, we stand here together mourning your loss. We ask you for forgiveness for anything that somebody inadvertently or unintentionally or even intentionally may have done to slight and hurt you. May you find it in your will to forgive them so they can go on with a clean slate. And conversely, we ask that everybody here find forgiveness for anything that Bernice, we know she was an amazing person, but no person is perfect. If she inadvertently hurt anybody's feelings, said something, made an action, an inaction, that we ask for forgiveness. So you can forgive them. And in turn, God will welcome you into His embrace, and you will meet your family that you've been waiting to see all these years. And you'll be in God's holy embrace, knowing that God put out a really good one who fulfilled God's mandate and mission in their lifetime. And we say amen. At this point, we're going to do the Mourner's Kaddish. This is a prayer set to begin the official Shiva period, the period of 7-day of mourning. And we'll say it together. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah ve'alma divrach hirutei ve'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon u'vyomechon u'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael va'agala u'bizman kariv ve'imeru Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekusha brichu le'ela minkom birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata ta'amiram be'olma v'meru Amen. Yehei shlama Rabba min Shemaya V'chaim aleinu v'akol Yisrael v'meru Amen. Oseh shalom v'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'akol Yisrael v'meru Amen. Before we begin the official Shiva process, the mourning process, the family has asked us to remind you that they are going to be meeting for a meal, which is customary to do right after the burial, at Red Hawk in Concord. Restaurant there, directly going from here, is that correct? Okay. Red Hot in Concord. We wish all of you our condolences. During the difficult times, we ask that you think of all the positive attributes that Bernice displayed, and we try to emulate her ways, making our world and our lives a better place. At this point, we're going to ask for 2 lines to be made so the mourners can walk through. So 2 people on 2 lines on each side, if you can make a row here.
Some people on the right, some people on the left facing one another. This aisle is called the Shura. It's the aisle of consolation. It allows the family to know that they're not walking alone.
Sorry.